And then you mentioned Spawn. We had Todd McFarlane in not too long ago, and so Spawn. What I thought, because you seem a guy who's doing a lot of research, guy who's doing with character, even those questions you're asking Nolan. You got all these. So had you watched the HBO series that obviously in preparation for going into the movie, reading the comics, doing all that, learning the backstory of the character?
I wanted to dive deep into it until I realized, damn, I'm doing the birth of Spawn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know what's happens on Spawn 22.
Right.
I'm basically Spawn is Al Simmons. No matter how much I want to get to know what's going on, he's Al Simmons, and this is the birth of him, and this is chronicling when he is learning about himself.
Yeah.
So that's as far as I needed to look. Anything beyond that would be taking away from it. You can't play the effect.
Right.
So I had to be that human being and connect with human beings who would be in that same situation. So that's really, the extent of really what I had to prepare for.
When you go back and you think about that movie in general, what are your overall thoughts on the film, how it came out, how your performance came out? Like, what do you think?
Unfortunately, I was privy to the first cut.
Okay.
Yeah, fortunately for me, but the first cut had something like 71 special effect things in it, and the story was absolutely intact. You see, my character starts off, in a loving relationship, and you see what his home life is and why he wants to get out of doing the things he's doing.
Right.
And then there was so much editing and so many changes that the director, who's a special effects guy, I believe by the end of it, there was like 414 special effects shots. And he was excited about doing special effects shots.
Right.
And the story elements just suffered and suffered. And there were no longer any scenes that depicted, Al Simmons' early life.
Right.
So I felt like
Which is kind of the crux of what it's all about.
Exactly. It's about storytelling. And so now I seem to come off as a disgruntled, hamburger face who's trying to I guess jeopardize my best friend's relationship.
Right.
Because now it shows him with my ex-wife.
Right.
And so I was like, well, how does that happen? And so I kind of learned how that happens.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though too, because again, I was a big fan of Spawn, and I thought your performance in the movie was incredible. I really did. I think you were the perfect cast for the role. I agree with you though. I think that a lot of the stuff that I loved about like the HBO series and the comic was sacrificed. And inside of that, do you think also, because comic book movies were very different back then, and we're just talking about The Dark Knight, right? The Dark Knight, Nolan took that shift in movies to show you where you can take it a lot more serious. And Spawn's a very serious movie, but it's still there. But people, the way they perceived comic book movies, different back then. Do you think Spawn version with the stories that were lacking or that were cut out, do you think that if that movie comes out today, in this culture, it's received differently?
Absolutely, because it doesn't matter. It's about the human element.
Yeah.
And if you take that out, you disconnect folks. It seems to me the people who are already enamored with Spawn, they're the ones that like the movie the most. There are people who just said, "What the hell? I didn't understand what was going on, and how did the devil just reach in and pick up the clown and did this and." And there was you looked at, Martin Sheen and a bomb, you pull a bomb out. None of that was in the movie before.
Right.
The director came up with, I remember he told me, wow, I took a look of yours and then I made that into this, a bio bomb coming out of, I'm like, I don't understand what the hell's going on.
It's just kind of what you were talking about before, to where you said, like, a lot of times you got to try to talk to the director and say, listen, man, it's like, you try to massage it a little bit.
At the time, the guy who ran, Bob Shea, who ran New Line, he loved the first cut, and he just gave the director carte blanche to just enhance it the way he wanted. And he just took his eye off the ball. And people weren't, I think he learned his lesson.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, another movie that was coming out with New Line called Blade,
Yes.
they were all over that director because of what happened with the director in Spawn.
Right.
And so, I mean, I knew that director too, and it was like, Jesus Christ, this is why.
Right, right.
Because, Bob was, easygoing. It was kind of like, it's a studio, but it was kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of like a family kind of, relaxed atmosphere there. And so they just trusted that the movie that the director was going to bring in for Spawn was just going to be better.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that guy since.
Right. That's.
I mean, he's alive.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, but that's the way this business works.
Yeah,
That's the way it works
yeah.
for sure.